good to be back in Fargo, even though it is a little chilly. Being on the road, obviously has some great experiences, but nothing's quite like being at home. So we're happy to be back.
What did you learn about your team this weekend?
I learned that we're still growing, and I'll be honest, I thought we would be a little bit further along in some areas, and we're not, and that's not their fault, that's not our fault, that's the reality of where we are. But I do like the growth that we're seeing, specifically in our guard play, in their being more comfortable, the experiences that they've been in, the physicality that they've been in. That's where I'm seeing the growth. Do we have a ways to go? Yeah, absolutely. But the attitudes, the effort, the camaraderie is all there. And you see a lot of that when you're on the road. You don't see that so much when you're, here at home.
Specific areas that you mentioned that you expected to see more growth?
I don't think I took into consideration enough just what youth and inconsistency, like the parallel between that. Some days we can defend ball screens really well. Other days it's a little bit more challenging. Same thing with our rebounding. Same thing with taking care of the ball. Same thing with our post defense. So it's more the consistency. I thought we would be a bit more consistent at this point. And we're just not there yet. And it's not anybody's fault. That's stuff we can work on. Practices are still intense and they're locked in and they're willing and wanting to improve. So it'll come. I'm very optimistic. But for whatever reason, I was overly excited and thought maybe we'd be a little bit more consistent at this point.
How important is it to get back home now with this rough stretch?
I think there's that's a big part of it, and it's not the only part, but being at home in our own beds, eating our own food, kind of the timeline that we're accustomed to is a routine. And when things are inconsistent and when you have so much youth and, we go on a road trip and we're in a new hotel, the freshmen are like, oh, wow, this is cool. And, it's different because it's new for them. So coming back to our own facility and some routine eliminates one distraction, makes things easier to be more consistent because you have one less variable.
Please talk about the performance of Emily Spears so far this season.
Emily Spears been doing great. For some people who don't know, she was out of commission for the most of the summer with a knee injury and worked her tail off in the strength department there to get back, and she's been fantastic. We put a lot of responsibility on her, defending post play, being physical, being vocal, being a leader, scoring, rebounding. We put a lot on her, and I think she's handled that task very, very well, and I think her play has only improved from last season.
What do you like from Sarah so far?
I love the fact that she looks like she's having fun when she's playing. She genuinely enjoys basketball and enjoys every practice and every game. She loves being out there. I love how coachable she is. We had a specific conversation yesterday. I don't think she really liked what I said at the beginning. And she voiced her, well, I liked it. Okay, we went back and forth. I said, can we make that change? She said, yeah, we can make that change. So she's very coachable. And I see her growth and progress from game to game, from practice to practice. She's dialed in. She asks a lot of very pertinent and correct questions because she wants to improve herself, but she wants our team to continue to improve. She understands that.
From her, asking her for more of?
I'm asking her to be a stronger player. And, she came into Morgan's office yesterday to watch a little film and just sat down and said, I'm a little bit of a pansy, aren't I? Well, no, you're not a pansy. This is college basketball. And, we've joked, about a year and a week ago, she was playing high school volleyball. So the weight room and some of that physicality, it takes time to absorb, to grasp, and to really build on. So we're asking her to be more of a physical player, to be stronger with the basketball. And I think a lot of people see that as actually holding on to the ball, but that's also the pace of which you dribble, the strength of your dribble, how fast, the velocity of your passes. That all comes from strength. That yesterday was definitely better than a week and a half ago, but she knows that there's still room to grow. Looking for her to continue to be a scorer, continue to be a leader, to be very vocal. And those are all things that she kind of looks at me and she's like, yeah, coach, I can do that, and that's just who she is. That's, she doesn't act like she knows it all, but that's just who she is. Like, you give me a task, I'll do it.
Western Michigan.
Very quality team. They won their Thanksgiving tournament, so they're kind of on the opposite side. They're coming in with 2 back-to-back wins. They love paint touches. They've got 2 very formidable post players. They get upwards of 40 points in the paint. That's an area that we've struggled with. So our post players will have their hands full, but our guards understand that it's not just the post play. There's guard responsibilities, ball pressure, sagging off certain players, things like that can help our post play. They're also very strong in the ball screen. That's kind of their motion offense. That's one thing that I think we've been pretty good at, is we've defended the ball screen a variety of ways in a very short amount of time this season. And I've been very happy with our ability to lock in, dial in, and make changes. I'd say those are kind of what they hang their hat on.
Some of the older players, just with the way last year went, and then with this rough stretch to begin, even though you're facing really good competition?
I'm very sensitive to that, and I would say absolutely not. Both Taylor, Emily, and Bree being our captains, I've asked that question, and they look at me like, we've only played 5 games, coach. Like, our freshmen are good. Like, they'll come along. We'll be fine. So I would say absolutely not.
Minutes this past weekend and did some really nice things. I mean, what did she do in practice to kind of earn that more playing time throughout the weekend?
We challenged the wings, especially when we were out on the East Coast, to be more vocal, to be more competitive in practice, and to be more active, not act like freshmen. And I really think that Riley Nudell took that to heart. She's a very hard worker. She always has been. But when challenged with, hey, there's an opportunity, who's going to step up? I thought that she did it very well.
Go back on a road trip here. We won't talk to you before that. What did you learn from this last road trip that you take forward? I mean, I don't imagine Milwaukee's going to be any easier. It doesn't get easier, here for you guys. What'd you learn from that? What do you take away from that? What do you want your girls to take away from the 2 previous tough road trips they just went on?
Right. I think what we can learn from is going back on, when we travel now, going back on experiences. How did we eat? How did we prepare? What time did you go to bed? How can we make some of those smaller changes that really do affect and help our outcome? I also learned who can have the ball in their hands and who can't, who is more consistent and who's still learning, and how can we be patient with those who are still learning. The conversation that we can have after Wednesday is we have another opportunity, and we can choose to accept the challenge, or we can say, woe is me. And this group had a great attitude going into Colorado. No, I'm going to accept the challenge, coach. We are here to get better, to make a statement, and to improve. And that kind of goes back into the previous question of, like, they realize and they've articulate, it's a young season, like, we got a lot to go. Like, let's go. They're excited about that.
You try to maybe take away Taylor a little bit, being she's a big part of your offense, and if so, how do you still manage to get her a lot of shots and a lot of points?
Mm-hmm. I do think that teams highlight her. She's certainly a leading scorer on our team and put up great numbers last year. She's earned that respect from other teams. I think one thing that the conversation that she and I had yesterday is actually having the ball in her hands more. To facilitate, to take the pressure off of her when she's the main, when the eyes are on her defensively. She can be a playmaker and a distributor and make it easier for others, as opposed to putting that stress and that pressure on a tired freshman's mind. Oh, how do I get Taylor the ball? Kind of flip-flop it a little bit, which sounds a little contradictory. But in the conversation and watching some film of when we did that this past weekend, worked very well. But, I have high expectations for Taylor. Taylor has high expectations for herself. She's a true competitor. So we work together. She knows she needs to score for us. We know she needs to score for us. It's not something that she backs down from.
Level for her. What else can she really improve on?
You can ask her. She'll probably list a whole slew of things. I think she's best known right now for her 3-point shooting depth, probably. I think things that she is working on and that we've worked on via film over the summer because of her injury was her pull-up more, getting to the basket, and if she can't create for herself, not just throwing it up, but creating for her teammates with a good pass. And she recognizes both of those things more often than not. You know, when she misses a shot, I can look at her, she's like, yeah, I should have used to pull up there, huh? Yeah. You know, so she's improving, and she knows she needs to continue to diversify how she scores. But I'm a big proponent of, you're a shooter. You got to shoot just as much as you diversify your skill set. And she's bought into that. She shoots a lot.